All right, everybody, welcome. I am very excited to introduce you to my guest today. I want to preface this by saying, as I was writing this really quick bio for you, I realized I hate reading people's bios. So I'm going to give you a super brief intro, but then I would love to really hear more from you and really how you're describing the work that you do. But before we start, I am here today with Dr. Christian Gonzalez, Dr. G. He's a functional medicine doctor, wellness educator, and host of Heal Thyself podcast. He works at the intersection of physical health, emotional well-being, and spirituality. So this is going to be a fun conversation. Like I said, we're going to cover aspects of physical health, emotional health, and how it all ties into your spiritual health. So all of that to say, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, my favorite question to ask people to get started is, how would you describe the work that you do and how did you get here?
The work that I do is centralized behind one real mission statement, and it's to help people remember who they are. And from the science perspective, it's to help people come back to proper nervous system regulation, where people actually feel safe in their body. From the spiritual perspective, it means that people remember why they're here on earth, why they're here to embody their highest self. What does it look like for them? Everyone has a different imprint. What does it look like manifested through the filter of them as a human being? And so my driving force is to help people to get to that space. And the first step across the board always is creating a safe environment in the body. Finding out what's causing that disruption, that's a whole other conversation. But really, it's just about getting people to feel good in their body before anything else arises.
That is so resonant for me. And I'll tell you a little bit of background. So I now almost over 2 years ago sold a big coaching company that I had built up, and I finally fully exited out a little over a year ago. And I've been really on this spiritual journey for a long time now, but I felt just like it was going so slow. I felt like I was so stuck throughout, and I was just really in a constant state of anxiety. So you're talking about nervous system regulation, like completely dysregulated, sleep, having physiological symptoms of anxiety before my thoughts in my head were even active. So my nervous system was definitely a mess. And since I've spent the last year really just taking time off before starting the show to recover, I feel like in the last even 6 months, I've accomplished more in terms of my feeling of safety and spiritual growth than the entire rest of my life. So that's a really interesting correlation for me. I don't know if you want to share any more about that.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me that like we live in this society that is go, go, go. And you know, you built up your company and it was a successful company. And I'm sure if I met you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was go, 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 go. Mm-hmm. And that is what we celebrate here in America. And I'm American. I was born here, you know, so like that's all I know. Doesn't mean I haven't been to different countries, haven't visited my family in different countries. And my God, the way of life is different. The value for them is feeling good in their body and connecting to others. That's the value. It's so simplistic, but we lost sight of that. We value a lot more different things, right? We know we value financial gain, growth, success, whatever it looks like, but we're really, really in that energy that is hyper doing, hyper yang, from yin and yang, hyper masculine energy. And what's happening is our nervous systems are becoming depleted till they collapse. And then people are going, oh, well, I don't know why I have depression out of nowhere. I don't know what's happening with my gut issues. I don't know I know I have an autoimmune disease or a chronic disease. We don't see what's happening and how it's directly connected to how comfortable, safe, soft, grounded, and strong we feel in our nervous system, because no one ever teaches us that. We're born into this paradigm. Really, it's about that pattern interrupt for people to be like, whoa, there are other ways to live, and I can be as successful, and I can be as efficient. I can bring in money to my business the same way. Oh yeah, but I feel better in my body. All can exist. We just don't know it yet.
I think I got myself to a point where I didn't figure that part out, right? Like it really sat with me that, okay, I am not going to feel better as long as I still own and have this thing. And so for me, selling the company, I mean, it was for many reasons and it was wonderful. I don't make to make it sound like it was this horrible, stressful thing, but that was the thing that really allowed my nervous system to calm
Yeah.
down. Do you think there are always ways to work through this type of stuff? Or do you think sometimes you just have to separate yourself from whatever is creating that dysregulation?
It's a good question, right? Like in the environment that made us sick, we're not going to heal. And with that said, we need to satisfy that ring in Maslow's hierarchy, that bottom of the pyramid of survivability to actually have all of the basics for survival. So you can have a conversation about feeling better in your body and feeling more connected to people. But if someone's living paycheck to paycheck and doing 2 shifts at a job, coming home exhausted, falling asleep and waking up for another shift, it's a lot harder. That doesn't mean that every human being doesn't have the right and the ability and capacity to come into that state of balance, regardless of their environment. And that sometimes that's hard to swallow because your environment can be very chaotic. You can be in an abusive household. You can grow up in an abusive house. Your body can't tell the difference when it happened. It's still in that state of contraction. Yet we still can find those moments of our own peace and our own checking into our bodies and go about the world in a different way. Because ultimately, it's your experience. And with your experience, the lens that you go from is going to dictate, as you know, so much of what you experience. So if we're coming from a place of dysregulation, not feeling safe in our body, not feeling safe in the environment, we're going to get a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of that. We're not going to create the spaciousness for transformation. And I guarantee it doesn't matter your environment or where you are, or if you're living paycheck to paycheck, there's always spaciousness for transformation.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. As you said, that safety and regulation in your body, I really think it is critical to be able to connect higher and more spiritually, which for me, I'm thinking about very differently from like adopting a religious belief system. But I wanted to dive into this quote I heard you say on one of your podcasts. I want to get your definition of things before we keep going. So, this is your quote. You said, "The essence of health is the embodiment of your soul's purpose in human form." So, I loved that. And I would love
Mm.
for you to share, yeah, what you believe about the soul and the human experience.
I said that.
You did.
That feels nice, man. Ooh, I was on one on that one. I don't know what I was saying, but that's some channeled stuff coming from me.
I love it.
The essence of health is us being able to embody what our soul is here to do. I step away and go, okay, I don't want to get too spiritual, too woo-woo, right? Because I live over here in LA and I try to ground myself with like the science and I try to ground myself with relatability. But at the end of the day, it's that. If there ever was a purpose of life, and I'm no guru, if there was ever a purpose of life in the eyes of my patients and clients and the family members and friends that I've influenced on some capacity, it's to just embody what their soul is here to do. And what are we here to do? Well, we're here to remind each other of who we are. We're here to be connected to each other. We're here to experience ourselves as one. How do we do that? Well, we ain't going to do that if we feel unsafe in our bodies. We ain't going to do that if we go outside and we see someone as our enemy. These are fundamental things that your doctor's
Mhm.
not telling you. It doesn't matter if you're on an excellent diet. It doesn't matter if you're on an excellent supplement. It doesn't matter if you're working out every single day. If the moment you step outside after you have your best green drink, whatever rich diet of nutrients you're eating, and you open that door and you're about to go to the gym for your awesome exercises because you're so consistent, but you open that door and someone passes your street and you contract because you do not feel safe around people, it does not matter. It is the biggest block to feeling good in your body. If you cannot feel safe with yourself and another, your whole system is going to be hypervigilant. Your brain is going to accommodate that hypervigilance, your nervous system, your fascia, your immune system, your hormones, your inflammatory markers, they're going to go through the roof. The same people who go, I eat so well, I take all these supplements, I work out, I just don't know why.
Mhm.
Sure. Could be an environmental thing. Your house can be full of mold, or you could be consuming lots of pesticides or plasticizers, microplastics. That's a whole nother thing. But what is our resiliency? Our resiliency is our capacity and ability to handle life stresses and come back to a state of groundedness. And what I see is the resiliency of most people is that of a shot glass when it should be a huge mason jar. It should be a giant gallon, but we have little shot glasses of resiliency. And so we go outside, we get dysregulated, we can't come back to ourselves. We can't come back to feeling good in our bodies. Well, people go, what does it feel good in our bodies? Well, how are we supposed to feel? This is what I always tell people. Post orgasmic feeling in the body. You should feel warmth flowing through your body. You should feel your feet on the ground. You should feel your belly relaxed. You should feel your shoulders down. You should feel your heart open. You should feel your ability and capacity to connect to your voice without fear. That's authenticity. That is your highest state of health. If someone's talking about health and not talking about that, I'm interested, but I ain't really listening.
Gosh, yeah, you're already giving me so much to think about. I was thinking of a couple of things. The first thing is the times in my life where I have released things, like ended a relationship that I was very unhappy in for a long time. I finally decompressed from all the stress of business. I really kind of relaxed into this more peaceful environment. And like all this weight just fell off of me. And I didn't really have a lot to lose, but I had this like body transformation. And that's the second or third time that that's happened to me
Yeah.
in my life. And I think it's a good, like, tangible example of what you're talking about. And the other thing that I was thinking about is I think we're all seeking that feeling of peace. That's what we all want to walk around with. And so, why do you think that's just so hard for people to find today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the feeling of peace is difficult. The feeling of embodiment is difficult. And I'll tell you why we're here. But I want to speak onto the weight loss stuff because the
Hmm.
weight loss matters. Psychosomatically, we're holding on to something that is protecting us, right? Weight can protect us. It's not the same physiological imprint or compensation for every person, but some people are more likely to put on weight. Some other people are just really dickheads or bitchy. You know what I mean? That's another compensation. That's their armor. But some people actually have physical armor. But what about mechanistically, physiologically? Well, when you don't feel safe in your body, your whole limbic system is on. It's firing off. Stress hormones are going through the roof, cortisol, adrenaline, and then that goes down and cortisol chronically stays up, 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 up. And in that state, you're telling your body that the world isn't safe. The world doesn't have enough food, or I'm not safe. So I need to hold on to resources. And so your body's going, okay, great, I'll hold on to resources and gaining fat, stubborn weight loss. I don't understand. I work out. I don't
Hmm.
understand. I eat well. Why can't I lose weight? Well, because there's a psychosomatic component that is not being taught across the board, especially not in the fitness industry. I think at this point it's like 20, 25 pounds, but proper, not just like,
Hmm.
ooh, I lost weight and it comes back. We're talking about over a span of 3, 4 months, slowly, slowly, but forever it's going to be gone. But she's able to regulate her body. She was able to express her raw anger that was inside of her, she was so afraid to express, that held her from truly protecting her authentic expression. Which brings me to your answer is how the heck do we get here?
Hmm.
Well, it happens when we're young. It always happens when we're young. Unfortunately, that's the tale as old as time. And we always talk about it in this world and we go, okay, child trauma. And at this point, I know people are getting sick of hearing the word trauma, but the truth is this, is that every single person listening, they were a child, or if you have children, you see children, they are free in their bodies, they're free in their expression, they are singing, they are open. And until around the age of 7, they are that. Their brain waves are fully present. There's no, how do I feel about this? Maybe I'm not going to sing because that person across the street looked at me weird. No, if a kid wants to sing, they're going to sing. If a kid wants to poop, they might poop their pants. If a kid wants to go to sleep, they're going to sleep in the bed. They don't care about how they look or what they do. Of course, they don't have responsibilities. And at the age of 7, the brainwaves change. And when this brainwave change happens, all of a sudden, the part of them that has relationship to things comes online. Their ego comes online, but really comes online. If for the people viewing and listening who have kids, think about the age when your kid said, well, no, I don't want to wear that anymore. I want to wear this color. I want to cross the street alone. I want to climb up the stairs. I want to go up the slide. They become, where did this kid come from? They're making decisions for themselves. This is when they become a little human, little man, little girl. But the problem is that in that state, in that same vein and essence, we also learn about the child we need to be to gain love, connection, acceptance, food. And these are compensations that are so easily, sophisticatedly, elegantly carried out. We don't think about it, we just do it. We know if dad is angry in the house and mom cries, I love my mom, so I'm not going to be angry. So what happens to that raw anger? Well, it dials down. Maybe it goes from 10 to 8, but maybe it goes from 8 to 5, and maybe it goes to 5 to 0. The thing is, we can't just suppress emotions. They have to come out in another way. That energy has to come out. It stays in the fascia. It's solidified in the fascia. It's maintained and held in by the nervous system, and it stays there. And it has to come out a certain way. And that's when we see really distorted compensations. That's when we begin to see anxieties arise, OCDs arise, depressions arise, addictions arise. And we begin to move away. And to me, like, I'm not a religious person, but I hear original sin. The true original sin is when we forgot that our true bodies are our compass. We move all of our awareness to our ego and we start living in our head. So now we start thinking about everything we be, do, say, and have. Well, what the hell? Our truth is in our body. Our intuition's in our body. Our soul talks through us through excitement. It talks through us through sensation. And we've lost touch with that. We begin to live in our head. We cycle in our head. We get older and we don't know why we're so disconnected from ourselves. But that's the exact mechanism of what happens for the majority of people. They learn to go up here. And God forbid that people have a trauma, a physical trauma, a rape, a molestation, they'll learn how to dissociate really quick from their body. Regardless, if you lived in a household that didn't encourage you to express yourself, what do you want? How do you want to express yourself? And gave you love and secure attachment, it's most likely that you've avoided and abandoned your body and now live in your head.
Yeah. And this is a lot of the work that you do, right? With clients, with, I think, a certification, that kind of thing.
There was a while where I was teaching a lot of people this. I took a little break and now I'm coming back to teach people is that medicine is holistic. You have emergent care and it works. You break your arm, you want the pain medication, you want the antibiotics. And when you care for someone to truly come back to themselves, it's holistic. You need to see people for themselves. You need to see people for who they are. We don't as doctors. We don't as functional doctors, naturopathic doctors, conventional doctors. I would say the naturopathic and functional ones actually take the time to try to learn more. But you have to know your person in front of you who's seeking. And you have to know that all people have the capacity to heal. And you have to know that all people have goodness in them. All people are good. Even the people that have hurt you the most, all people are good. All people are in pain. A lot of people are in pain and don't know how to express that. So it comes down to really distorted, shitty ways. But it's our responsibility as human beings to hold space even for that while holding our dignity and integrity. And so, yeah, we need to teach healthcare professionals how to put on new lenses to see their patient as a human. And when you do, the most incredible things happen. Not only do they know you see them as a human by the words you say, but they feel it. They feel like an equal. They feel respected. They feel in their integrity. Sometimes, for the first time in their life, they're actually being seen by you. Maybe their parents didn't see them, their partners didn't see them, their teachers didn't see them. Finally, they're being seen by you. Do you know what it feels like for someone to be seen by someone else who hasn't been seen in forever? Their guard goes down, the emotions come out, and they begin to heal. And this is the core of what real medicine is, in my perspective. And so, yeah, this is what I teach people. I teach people how to put on new lenses, and I teach people how to listen to the body, and I teach people what the body's expressing. What is their posture, the way they talk? Look at their eyes, look, feel their energy. What do you feel? We all have that barometer. We can feel people. We just lost it. Some of us do. Some of us just really lost it, but we can all come back to it.
Yeah, that's so good. I don't know that I've ever felt like what you're describing from a doctor before personally. I felt it more for medical professionals that I've had for my dog.
Right?
Than for my doctors. So yeah, that's beautiful. And I know Jade, who introduced us, like this is everything you're describing is a big reason that he didn't go down the traditional MD route either. So it might be the same for you. So if you had to define it, what does spirituality mean for you? I know you said not a lot of woo, which I appreciate because I like to hear that point of view from that end of the spectrum, but this is spirituality for skeptics. So like we're here to like figure it out. And honestly, the intersection between science and spirituality is the number one most interesting part of all of it for me. So anyway, what is your definition?
Yeah, you know, and the title of this podcast is really just like an embodiment of what I try to go by, right? Like we have to be able to activate both parts of our brains, the parts that are ambiguous that we can't, the more we try to define, it falls through our fingers, and the things that we can build systems around and understanding, because that's how we speak to people. And I live in LA. You can imagine how many people are so tuned in on spirituality, but their message doesn't come through.
Mhm.
because people can't fully feel it. Right. So you have to speak both. At this point in our consciousness as humans, you have to speak to the mind and you have to speak to the body. You can't just do one. Traditional therapy will speak to one, speaks to the mind. Pure somatics will speak to the body, but you have to speak to both. There's an intersection. So I really appreciate the title of your podcast as a whole. But spirituality in itself is us feeling connected to ourselves. Well, what the heck does that mean? Connection to ourselves is exactly in the same essence of what I just said. As we get older, we move our awareness above our neck and we live there. We live, we ruminate every decision we make, we don't feel. Every interaction with every person we have, we don't feel in our bodies. We just talk and go about life. That's a really painful way to move through life because you're inevitably going to be in pain. Spirituality for me is being able to reunify yourself as a whole, coming back to your body and actually feeling, do I want to be in this relationship? What does my body say? Do you know how many people I've worked with that said, my whole time, my body has been contracted every time I have sex with my partner. I keep getting UTIs. I keep having infections. It keeps hurting when we have sex. What do you think your body's saying? It's very simple. When you listen to the body, it speaks to you. Sometimes we don't want to hear it because everything else about them is perfect, but your body doesn't like them. Your soul doesn't like them. They're not in
That
alignment with you.
literally, that was, I mean, the person that I parted ways with about a year ago. Ever since day one, my body was just like, no, but there were a lot of other
Yeah.
things that made sense. And my body says no, but for whatever reason, it just took my mind a lot longer to catch up. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was like, done that.
So where do you feel no in the body?
Where do I feel?
No, we
Mm,
know to know. When someone is
oh,
in your field that is absolutely someone that you're like, there's something about this person, I just can't be around them. And I don't want to question it. It's just a no. Where do you feel
mhm.
that in your body?
I would say like between solar plexus and chest.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So you have your navigation system,
Mhm.
right? You have that somatic awareness. Now, there's a lot of people viewing and listening who have no idea what their body's saying. I know my nose is on my upper left belly, right alongside my rib cage.
Mhm.
So anytime I meet someone or anytime someone asks me, hey, Christian, do you want to be on this podcast or do you want to do this event? I go, before my people pleasing, recovering mind goes, yeah, for sure. Of course. Love me, like me. I'll be there. I go, hold on. Let me think about it. Let me think about it. Take some time, drop in. What's true for me? If that part of my body's contracted, it's a no, even if it's the best money, even if it's the best networking, even if it's the best opportunity. I'm not going to turn my back on my body. I've done it long enough in my life. And so spirituality is being able to understand what is your soul saying to you through your body. Your soul speaks to you through your body. Spirituality is being able to feel embodied, meaning that you have a body, feel at rest, meaning your legs are relaxed when you're walking, your belly's relaxed, your shoulders are down, but your heart is open, but you feel strong, your spine is strong. When you're able to be in that state, everyone has felt coincidence. Everyone has felt those things that they can't explain in their life. There's names for that omnipotent force. Whatever it is, you will not be able to receive from that omnipotent force if you do not feel safe in your body. You will feel stuck. The expression in medicine will be anxiety and depression, and you won't know what the hell's going on. When in reality, your body's just wanting rest, openness, and being able to receive. There's a lot of gifts out there for us, but they're out the door and we have it locked. And we don't know. We keep asking for the gifts. Why is my life this way? When in reality, you hold the key to the door. You hold
Mhm.
it. And what it takes is for you to connect back to your hand holding the key, opening it. That mechanism comes when we drop into our body. That mechanism comes when we finally reunify with the parts of us that have been so repressed. The part of us that is angry, sad, fearful, guilty, shameful, sexually repressed. When those parts of us are seen in love and integrated back into our hearts, then you're coming back to who you are. That door opens. Thank you for the gifts. I've been waiting for my whole life. My life is so much better. My health is so much better. Amen.
I'd like to even go a little bit further into that, maybe with some things that are really tangible for people, because in a few of your shows that I was listening to, I heard you really just talk about the process of tuning
Mhm.
into your body when it comes to identifying the right foods and the right diet and that kind of thing for you, which obviously has a parallel to what we're talking about here. And maybe if people are like, okay, how do I tune in? How do I do this with my body? Maybe we can use like food as an example.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The most important thing is going to be to what I call defrosting the body. You really want to begin to visit your body so your body knows that you're knocking on the door every day. And it's like working out. You can't just think that you're going to have a fitness beach body ready, photo shoot ready body like that. It's not going to be like that. You have to defrost over time. A lot of us have been disconnected from our bodies since the 90s. For me, since the 80s. Some people since the 2000s, whatever it is, for 20, 30, 40 years. That process of reconnecting called interoception, you have to redevelop that part of your brain to have connection to your body, the mind-body connection. But first and foremost, you have to be able to first visit your body. How do you do that? Take some time. A lot of us meditate. We heard about meditation. I meditate every day. I leave my body. I go to the heavens. I dance with God and Jesus and angels, and then I come back to my body. What about meditating into our body? How many of y'all have just dropped in your body and felt what is present for me? What do my toe feels like? What do my calves feel like? What are my hamstrings, my belly, my hips, my groin? What is present? Without judging, without wanting to change, I'll tell you right now, I can close my eyes. Upper left belly feels a little bit tight. I know I hold fear there. I have a very busy day today. Am I going to be on time for everything? I can already tell what my belly's showing me. What else? My throat feels open, but I know how my throat feels when it's tight. I know my chest and tight close up when I'm scared to express myself. See, I only learned what my body says because I visit it every day. I asked it over time when it finally wanted to communicate, what do you need from me? What do you want to tell me? And over the years, it's shown me. It's shown me visions. It's shown me painful moments. It's shown me yells. It's shown me cries. It's shown me shakes that look like a seizure, right? I've gone through all those processes over the years, but now I know my signatures in my body. It's different for different people. And so the first step is just telling your body, I'm here every day, just like going to the gym. I'm going to check in and I'm just going to sense what's present. I'm not going to have to do a breath work or anything like that. I'm not going to have to do any myofascial stuff. I'm just going to tune in and feel. What do I feel like today? And then when you start feeling connected to your body, when you feel like you're in a meditative state, when you can drop in, then ask your body, where are you holding the most contraction? Go to it. Ask your body, what do you need to show me? You'll know. All of us are intuitive. We'll know. That's how you build a connection with the body. As soon as you build that connection, you're going to start to see where you feel expanded and contracted. And then you go to real life. You go visit your family for the holidays. And there's someone in everyone's family who triggers them. Well, what contracts? How are you before, during, and after an interaction with each one in your family? Then you start logging. You go, oh my God, every single time I'm with my brother, I feel contraction in my belly. I know fear and anger in my belly. That means I'm protecting myself from expressing fear or anger for my brother. Okay, wonderful. Now I'm starting to understand where no's, yeses, fear, anger, shame, guilt are in my body. Food. You go to the supermarket, you actually tune in. Do I want these persimmons? What does an expanded yes feel like in the body? For me, my throat is open, my chest is open. What does a no feel like? For me, closes in my belly. So I know even though my favorite influencer told me I need to eat persimmons and it's the best health-saving food you could possibly have, I ain't going to have it because it's not true for me. It's not true for me. Don't let now in my mind, I can see a Hershey's bar and go, oh, my mind is telling me it's good for me. No, 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 no. What does my body say? And maybe my body says, hey, maybe have a little bit. Maybe have a little bit. Maybe that joy that it brings is enough to bring you more joy down the road. Whatever it is, just listen, but you have to know what your body says first.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us, myself included, to a large extent, I'm getting better, but I think a lot of us outsource that to other people. So I've worked with a lot of different coaches and mentors and things like that, and I still do, and I always will. But I think sometimes rather than trusting myself, I'm a lot more likely to trust someone else who told me about myself or what I should do, or not necessarily influencers, but the person who says, "Oh, you should be eating this as part of a
Yeah.
healthy," versus it doesn't agree with me. So why do you think that we don't necessarily trust what our body is inherently telling us?
Because we don't feel it. We lost connection. Because if you go to a little kid and you give them a choice, they're always going to make the choice, at least if they're before the age of 7, that really they're called to. Their spirit, their intuition, their body, their authenticity is all going to draw themselves to what is true for them. It's not until they start hearing all of the sponsored thoughts, words, seeing all the actions from the people that taking care of them, their attachment figures, that are going to really influence what they believe the world is like. Before the age of 7, the world is like what it's like, what they see. You know, caterpillar is a caterpillar. But around the age of 8, if they saw on TV that caterpillars are the bad guy in the newest Ninja Turtles cartoon, then they're going to not like caterpillars because they've been influenced by something outside of them. And so we begin to attach to other things. And depending on how much we are in our authenticity and our integrity and how we truly feel, depending on how locked in we are with it, then we can lose ourselves. And we lose it pretty fast, especially for people pleasers, especially the people who are holding in anger. The people pleasers are one of the most dangerously influential people, or influenced people. They'll be influenced by so many people. Why? Because they've lost their sense of self. They never had a sense of self. They never had the ability to truly identify, what do I want? And so their reality becomes the influence of every single other person. And a lot of people don't even know they're people pleasers, but they totally validate everyone else except themselves. They totally go with everyone else except themselves. They abandon themselves. And self-abandonment even causes more repressed anger in a human being. And so, yeah, we outsource it, and fear too. Like, it's really easy to hear a doctor tell you, if you're suffering with autoimmune lupus, I have the best diet for you. Years of research has shown this, and also buy my supplements. And you spend all the money doing the diet they said, and you spend all the money doing the supplements that they said. When in reality, you never saw what was true for your body and your compass. I know the power of cruciferous vegetables. They're some of the healthiest vegetables in the world. Some of the healthiest foods in the world, what they do with the liver, metabolism of different hormones like estrogen and microplastics, it's incredible. I can't eat broccoli. I can't eat cauliflower. I can't eat kale. Maybe I can have broccoli sprouts, but they just don't do well with my body. And every time it's on my plate and I try to go, you know what, let me try, my body contracts. And I'm not going to abandon it anymore. And so, yes, like, we outsource it to the people who are telling us what to do with our lives. And guess what? It only brings more pain, more confusion. It only holds up the process of that which we're looking for. We have to be able to have our compass back online. Otherwise, we're going to be lost in this world. And like I said, it's going to cause a ton of pain and confusion.
Yeah, maybe this is a layer deeper. So you used the word authenticity a couple of times here. So for you, what is the link between authenticity and spirituality?
I think when you're in your state of authenticity, you are aligning yourself to the expression of your soul. For me, the expression of the soul is infinitely creative. I met him last year, and it's someone significant in my life because I see him often as part of a relationship that I have. And he had told me, I'm not creative at all. He's a very manly bro guy. I actually probably was the first person to challenge that and say, I don't believe that. I believe you're creative. I believe there's something inside of you that wants to come out. I go, what do you enjoy doing? If you didn't have to do all the work that you do, you worked in finance, all the numbers you do, all the money that you got coming in, what would you do creatively? He's like, well, sometimes I go hunting. And when I'm hunting, I'm like waiting for the deer, and I'm in a cabin, a little tiny cabin in a tree, and I'm there for hours. And sometimes I just write. I write like my experience, and I go, what are you talking about? You're creative right there. I read his writings, and I've never hunted. I never will hunt, but it transported me into being in the woods waiting for a deer, just the way he described it. This man had no idea. And I'm talking about a man who probably was never celebrated as a kid for his creativity because he grew up in a hyper masculine household. A man who went on to be a football star, who was around people who never celebrated creativity, at least back then in the 80s. And then a man who maybe in his friend group of men, especially around the work that he does, doesn't celebrate. It's very logical, doesn't celebrate creativity. Our soul is infinitely creative. Every person viewing and listening to this podcast is infinitely creative. And we all used to do it when we were young. Why are children so creative? It's because we're aligned with our soul, and it's expressing itself through our nervous system in human form. And we had no expectation of what our art is going to look like except just to create. I would draw pictures nonstop when I was a kid. Nonstop. All I did was draw. My mom would be getting her hair cut. I'd sit in the middle of the salon, Indian style, with a paper on the floor and drawing. And I remember that memory over and over and over and over. And so why am I mentioning art? Art isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for health. And we don't realize that. Because if we don't tap into our creative expression, we are disconnecting ourselves from source and our soul. Every time you make the decision to do something artistic and creative that comes from your soul without expectation, you are nourishing something deeper than health can ever put its finger on, more than any doctor can put their finger on, more than any influencer or podcaster. What you're doing is nourishing your nervous system because your soul is coming through and saying, thank you for allowing me to come to the surface. Do you know what that feels like in the body? Do you know the physiological processes that happen in the body? When you're drawing, you're in a state of parasympathetic grounding. Your whole body feels safe. When you're painting, when you're knitting, when you're singing, when you're dancing, your whole body's in a state of flow, alignment. All your systems are in place. Your brain is firing as it's intended to in nature. Everything is in sync. What do you think that state tells your hormones? What do you think that state tells your immune system? What do you think that state tells the very disease that you're suffering with? How do we bring more people into a state of presence? And we have to tap into our creative. We have to. A lot of us are in logical jobs and we forget about our creative, like this guy I was talking about. But it's our responsibility. If you want to get healthy, you have to allow your creativity to come to the surface. And if you don't know what it is, just do something. Sing more, dance more, act more, write a play, write a story, draw more, paint more, sculpt more. It's infinite. Do something that you would do as a child and don't be afraid to express it. That's authenticity. When you're able to express who you truly are without fear, that state is the highest state of health that you can achieve.
Yeah, and as you're talking, it's like I'm thinking it's no wonder that people are just backed up and like really blocked because I coached entrepreneurs in my last business. So I think that's a little bit of a different story. But the years that I was doing fitness coaching, most of my clients were working women and moms. And I think about the hundreds, if not 1,000 conversations that I had where it's like, okay, what does your life look like? You get out of bed after hitting snooze for the third time, you get the kids ready, you take them to school, you rush to work, you're working all day, you're coming home, you're taking care of the kids, you're, putting people to bed and cooking dinner and all of these things. And it's like what you're talking about is taking the time to tune into your body, meditation, creative expression, and art. I heard you talk in a podcast too about how the best healing comes in nature, which by the way, I agree with. And that
Yeah.
is what I do every day. All of these things that we used to have the time and space to do or the ability to prioritize that most people don't now. So what can you tell them to help make this really practical for them, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Busy people, they have to arrange some time in their day to come back to themselves. And usually for people who have no experience in any meditation, no experience in somatic meditations, completely disconnected from their creativity, I'll say, just go outside when the sun is coming up or when the sun just came up, go walk, don't bring your phone. Get quiet and allow some self-reflective time. At the very least, that is a way to start breaking away from the habit of being in their head. Right? You can go on a walk and you can absolutely be on your head the whole time in a walk, but at least you're creating spaciousness. Now, if you connect that with being in nature, and this isn't for everyone because some people live in cities, but if you connect that with being in nature, very easily, very quickly, very elegantly, nature will start quieting your system for you. It's really hard to have your feet on the ground and looking at the waves of the beach and have your mind going 1,000 miles per hour. There's something very potent that happens with your feet on the ground electromagnetically. There's something very potent that happens with negative ions flooding your system. It's like nature has the very specific dials and codes that when you're out there, it's hitting you and it is changing something in your physiology. And it's not just like theory. We see this in the research. There are the sights of nature, horizon, the light, circadian changes in the body. We all know about circadian changes, or people talk about it a lot now, but it changes your whole physiology. The smells, when you're in the forest, there are aromatic compounds that you breathe in that actually increase your heart rate variability, lower your blood pressure, and lower your sympathetic tone and elevates your parasympathetic. The same goes with sounds. Birdsong actually has a way of changing, and waves have a way of changing your physiology through your neurochemistry. Isn't that crazy just hearing a bird sing? We have evolved with all of these connections from nature, these inputs, and we've detached ourselves literally from nature, not only our nature and our nature as human beings in connection to each other, we've literally detached ourselves from nature. So if I have a high-powered CEO who's in his head or her head, and she or he's on the phone as soon as they wake up answering emails. I won't even work with them if they can't create 25 minutes, 30 minutes of spaciousness in their day. That spaciousness will create a lot more from it. But you have to have some spaciousness to shut up and just
Yeah.
allow your system to start coming up or rising. That's when people make the realizations that they've always wanted to make. Oh, I know what I need to do. Wow, thank you, nature. You start having a true reverence for all of the nature that you're around. It's the most beautiful thing, actually.
And I want to really just speak to this for people who are like, I don't know. So I live in Asheville, North Carolina, which is, we're in the mountains here. So I have my little dog. We hike every day. I've taken her on hiking trips all around the world, Europe, through the Alps many times, South America. We're hiking in Hawaii this next month. And so that is my thing. And the first time I brought her to the Alps in Switzerland, I was at a point in my business where things had just blown up. It was great. It was really successful. I was experiencing that stress, but I'd also, this was like August of 2021, still in COVID, but like kind of after that initial. So anyway, like many people, I had put on some weight and hired a macro coach. And like I was a fitness coach, I knew what to do, but it just wasn't really working to kind of
Yeah.
what we talked about before. I take my dog to the Alps, and yes, we were hiking every day, but I do that anyway, typically. And within 5 weeks of being there, I came back with like a completely different body. And still to this day, to me, there is nothing like being in the Alps, nothing even close. Yeah, all the things that you just said for me, you can see like I light up when I talk about nature as well, because it is just the most powerful thing for me. So,
Yeah. And if you don't have nature, you better be connecting with people,
Mhm.
right? You better be connecting with people. And this is what, like, I was in Paris, and this was my first time there, and I couldn't find much nature. I see some parks pop up
Mhm.
everywhere, but true nature, like forest. But man, everyone, it was like people were connecting and laughing. And I go, it's like 3 o'clock. People are right. Everyone is out and just enjoying life and respecting their storefronts. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. So yeah, we have to feel connected to something. When we
Mhm.
go to nature, we automatically connect to it.
Mhm.
If you ever seen Avatar, like the ponytails connect, we connect to nature. It is an invisible thread immediately.
Mhm.
Again, and if you don't have that, find a way to put your feet on the ground or touch a tree. I know that sounds like a hippie stuff, but it works. And you got to connect with people, because if we don't feel connected, we are going to be on a fast route towards depression. We have to feel like we have someone to connect to, that we feel seen and heard and understood, and we can express ourselves, but not trauma dump, just express ourselves and be who we are without the fear of judgment. A lot of people have masks on. Most people I meet have masks on. Most people I walk past the street, most people I talk to every day, I can sense their masks. We're attracted, and it's a very interesting thing. Everyone viewing and listening, when someone walks in the room and they're just themselves, they're not trying to be big, or you might talk to them and you're just so attracted to them, and it's not even a physical thing. You're just like so attracted to them. It's because they're authentic. Their nervous system is grounded. They don't have a mask on, or they have a less amount of masks on than the normal person. And that's really attractive, because we're like, I want more of what they have. I want that. How can I get more of that? Right. And it's our soul through our nervous system saying, hey, you can have that. You are that. It just takes us looking at what we fear. And how do we do that? We got to connect with our body first. We have to be able to hear what our body's saying before we even start stepping into authenticity. We can't just be like, I'm going to be me. And then who the hell am I, though? What is me? What do I like? If you've been a people pleaser all your life, you have no idea what you like. Who are you? We don't even know who we are. So that's what I'm saying. If we want to get quiet, feel into our bodies, we will absolutely, unequivocally begin to hear who we are through the expression of our souls, wants, needs, and desires. The more we embody that, the more we remember who we are, the more, yay, we feel so much healthier in our bodies.
I mean, I couldn't have come up with a more beautiful way to put it. You should really listen to yourself talk back. I feel like I'm just like noting all of these great quotes. No, that this is amazing. So, I guess, kind of in closing, what is the one thing you would want people to know based on all the work that you do?
Everybody can heal. Everybody deserves to truly feel good in their body. Everybody's an artist. Everybody's magnetic. Everybody's attractive, and you can absolutely connect to your purpose in life. You just have to receive whatever's in front of that door, all those gifts. And the way to do that is to drop into our bodies and just listen. Just be with our bodies like we are with a little kid that we love. And our bodies will reward us more than you can ever imagine.
Yes, I love it. So, everyone listening, give yourself more time, attention, tune in. And this has been transformative for me. You've really helped me understand things that I've been through on a deeper level. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate the practical steps you've really given people
Mm-hmm.
toward that kind of personal and spiritual connection. So thank you. So you clearly have a name for yourself and a good following and all of that stuff. But where can people find you?
Yeah. So I do most of my work on Instagram, Doctor spelled out, dot Gonzalez with a Z at the end. And I have my podcast. It's called Heal Thyself. I talk a lot about this, all this stuff, plus everything. We've covered everything you could possibly do. We even rank like supplements. We even go over the best in class and worst in class products. And we go into the spiritual stuff. We do it all. And then that's it. Yeah, look for me. I'm really leaning into this and I'm going on my walks in the morning and connecting to it. I would love to open up a mentorship for people, intensive mentorship for people to go through their own process. It can expedite what's in the body to come up. So yeah, people just reach out to me if you're interested in that too. It'll probably be coming in March or April.
Perfect. So amazing. I look forward to continuing following, listening to you, learning from you, all the things. And I am just so grateful for you and for your time today. And thank you so much again for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Nicole. And thanks for everyone listening.